Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Siggy Guns never fail. What's up, fantasy football fans? My name is JT Magnum here along with Siggy Guns, and welcome back to Fantasy Football Fiends. This is the top 30 rankings for this one's going to do the quarterbacks. And I know there's going to be a lot of craziness going on here, a lot of people upset with our rankings because that's how it is every year. But it's all good. It's all fun fantasy football. And just real quick, these are, I already did the rankings earlier. Those were my preseason rankings, and now Siggy is here with me to do his rankings along with my rankings, and this is where the fun starts. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask it at the end or in the comment section later, and let's get this rolling. Who's your 30 through 25 or 26? Sorry.
I have Kirk Cousins, Brian Hoyer, Tyrod Taylor, Blake Bortles, and Nick Foles at 26. I'll go and talk about Tyrod Taylor. I'm actually shocked that they picked him over E.J. Manuel. E.J. Manuel showed a lot in preseason, enough to where I think he should have stayed. The last game, which everybody thought was going to be the important one, he was 7 for 8, 170 yards, perfect QB rating, 158.3, 2 touchdowns. And Tyrod Taylor, he was good too. He was 12 for 13, for 122 yards, and he rushed for 1 touchdown. I can't believe though that they would pick, the slasher type, quarterback over E.J. Manuel. Would actually look like he was more poised this year, and he also showed flashes of that last year. So I don't get why they would do it, but I mean, I'll have him ranked pretty high because the Buffalo Bills offense has been looking pretty good actually in preseason, and how that necessarily translates in the NFC East, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously the Jets and Dolphins have a pretty good defense, and New England obviously has a good defense. We'll see what happens. I just have a feeling though that they made a mistake. E.J. Manuel might win that job back sooner rather than later.
I actually think he's going to win the job back too. I like Tyrod Taylor, and the reason I know why they picked him is because they said he just flashes more playmaker skill, basically. I think E.J. Manuel is the better quarterback, though. I think that experiment with Tyrod Taylor is going to go quick. He doesn't seem like the guy that has the built body to withstand running like that either. So we'll see what happens with him, but I think E.J. Manuel deserves a starting job as well. But my 30 through 26 is Brian Hoyer, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jameis Winston, and Kirk Cousins. And I'll talk about Kirk Cousins. He just got the starting job as well over a well-known person named RG3. And RG3, I think, is done. He's done in Washington. I mean, there's been all these rumors and other stuff about him not being liked, trying to be traded, and I've heard stuff on the radio. Joe Theismann been talking about him, but here comes Kirk Cousins, and he's a good pocket passer. I think he's just what Jay Gruden wants in that system. And he's got weapons. He's got weapons at wide receiver. He's got a good running back. Now it's the time for him to actually showcase something because he hasn't really shown anything when he has had his chance to start. I mean, he's had flashes of good games here and there, but nothing, spectacular. But he's got some weapons this year. He's got a pretty. They upgraded their defense, so he'll have the ball in his hands a lot more. We'll see what he can do, but he's still down on my rankings because I don't see him as any high fantasy potential quarterback. So who's your 24 through 25 through 21?
Yep. Alex Smith, Marcus Mariota, Jameis Winston, Derek Carr, Jay Cutler is 21. I'm going to talk about Winston. Now, I have him ranked pretty high. Him and Mariota pretty high, higher than a lot of people probably would have. And I just think the reason why is because them two are going to be playing a lot. And I did talk about Doug Martin yesterday. I think he's going to help Winston the most out of the two. I think, they got to respect the ground, and he has the better receivers. Obviously, he has Vincent Jackson. He has Mike Evans. I think during the growing process, they're going to be throwing a lot. They're going to be doing a lot of plays, and he's going to be in the center of it all. And I think fantasy-wise, he should get a lot of points. He might not have a great year. I do think he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. But I think it's going to be one of those years where he's going to probably throw in his rookie season 3,700 to 4,000 yards. So fantasy-wise, those are pretty good numbers.
Yeah, could be. We'll see with him. But my 25 through 21 is Tyrod Taylor, Jay Cutler, Carson Palmer, Colin Kaepernick, and Andy Dalton at 21. And I'm going to talk about Carson Palmer. I had him ranked higher before, but now I'm actually dropping him because I don't trust him. And the reason why I don't trust him is because I don't see Arizona's offensive line doing anything. Like, Iupati's hurt, the former 49er. They got rid of some linemen. A couple other linemen went down. And it's just one of those things where, you know, he's coming off knee surgery. He's coming off a torn ACL. And on top of that, you know, Michael Floyd's hurt. Who knows how long? I don't know if he's going to miss 1 or 2 games or if he's just going to miss 1 game. The running backs don't seem to be all there yet. Andre Ellington, and they just signed Chris Johnson. And I don't know. I don't trust him in that offense right now with that offensive line. And I don't know. I don't know what it is with Carson Palmer. But he was doing good last year. He was fine. But just after those injuries, they can be just brutal coming back. And you start thinking about it. And if your line sucks and people are rushing at you and they're, you know, you start to get that happy feet in there. And there it is. It's over. And you start throwing interceptions. And he threw a couple right in the last preseason game against the Raiders. He threw a couple of them. And I don't know. I just don't trust him.
I don't know how you don't trust him. Bruce Arians' offense, you know, no matter how bad it looks in the preseason, during the season, it's awesome.
Yeah, and Bruce Arians' offense takes a lot of chances. They throw deep, and they got a lot of speed on the outside. But like I said, I just do not. They take a lot of chances. And that's the thing about Bruce Arians' offense. They take chances, and I don't like it. I don't like Carson Palmer in it. Not with that offensive line. But we'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Who's your 20 through 16?
Teddy Bridgewater, Colin Kaepernick, Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, and Carson Palmer at 16. I'll talk about Kaepernick. Obviously, I mean, you're the 49er fan. That line looks horrendous. So, but he's running because he has to run for his life, and he's a quarterback that can run pretty good. I think that's going to be his advantage this year. He's going to be able to throw for still, 3,000, 500 yards, whatever. But then he's probably going to rush, I think, very close to 1,000 yards. And a quarterback that rushes for 1,000 yards is going to get you a lot of points in games, pretty much like cheap points. It's almost like if he averages 60 yards a game, 50 to 60, you're almost getting a free touchdown out of it, right off the bat. Anything after that, and if he throws one, is a bonus. So I think Kaepernick is going to be somewhat of a risky quarterback to start, but you might, benefit from that horrible line because it looks pretty bad right now, man.
Yeah, he can get a lot of rushing yards. I actually dropped him down my list just because I figured he's going to run for a lot of yards, like you said, but he's not going to throw a lot of touchdown passes. So it's going to be like, probably around the same amount of touchdown passes he threw last year, he'll throw this year. And if he can keep his interceptions down, that'd be good for fantasy. But I have him lower, too, just because of that reason. Because he's going to throw, he's going to throw for almost 3,000 or 3,000 yards. And if he can get 1,000 yards rushing, that'd be great. But that offensive line, yeah, they have some problems on the right side of it. It's the right side, and they're trying to figure it out. And I know they named the starters now and everything, but I'm not happy with who they named that starter. So he might be running. He might be running for his life the first few games. But
yeah.
My 20 through 16 is David Carr, Alex Smith, Joe Flacco, Cam Newton, and Blake Bortles. And I'll talk about Blake Bortles. He looked great in the preseason. Like this, I know last year he was growing pains and he was, he showed some flashes. But man, Blake Bortles looks like he is came into this season just ready. Like he knew the playbook. He's ready to take command of the huddle. He's running for touchdowns. He's running for first downs. He's got he's throwing nice accurate balls. He's throwing accurate deep passes like this. Blake Bortles seems to have it going on right now in the preseason, and I moved him up my list just because of it. So we'll see if he can tone down the interceptions. Because last year he threw definitely way more interceptions than he was throwing touchdowns. But he adds that element when you start, when you're running, and when he gets towards the red zone, he can run it in on top of throwing it in. So we'll see with him. But I definitely moved him up my list, definitely from just the preseason alone.
That is pretty high. I have him pretty low because I just think that a lot of these options, you're probably going to trust them more to start. But preseason he's been tearing it up. You're right about that. I just don't know if I can pick him that high. Would you really pick him over some of these players?
At 16, yeah. I don't. When I usually pick a quarterback, like if I'm picking a quarterback early, then I won't take one for way later. So he might be available later. Something like that. Like it depends on where I pick the quarterback and who I'm picking at quarterback.
That's true. All right, 15 through 11, Cam Newton, Sam Bradford, Ryan Tannehill, Philip Rivers, and Matthew Stafford. And I'll talk about Matthew Stafford. I have him at 11, and this is a guy just, a couple of years ago would have been top 5, it seemed. Everybody, obviously we have Calvin Johnson. He's been doing really good in preseason also. And I probably have him ranked pretty low, but I'm going by average draft position. I think this is a guy that if you miss out on the top 5 quarterbacks and you can afford to wait, he's going to be there, it seems. And he's going to be somebody that I think is going to have a bounce-back season. I think the whole team as a whole is going to bounce back, and him, fantasy-wise, is going to be pretty good. So keep an eye on him. I don't know why. Nobody likes him right now. Everybody's dropping him. No one is picking him in the spots that I thought he would go. I've seen him go, 15 sometimes. So pretty crazy.
My 15 through 11 is Matthew Stafford. 14, Teddy Bridgewater, Ryan Tannehill, Eli Manning, and his brother, Peyton Manning, at number 11. And I know a lot of people are going to be like, what, at 11? Well, yeah, because he's, for some reason, I know he's got the weapons. I get it. He's got the weapons. But there's another one, no offensive line. And he's probably going to get sacked more this year than he's probably ever been sacked in his entire career, just from that offensive line alone. And another fact is he's taking snaps from center. He's usually throwing out of the shotgun, and he's doing a new thing this year where he's taking more snaps from center, and they're going to run more. So with C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, they're going to run a lot more. It's going to be a lot different. It's going to be a lot different Peyton Manning than you're seeing. So I'm not saying he's not going to be great. He's going to be good. He's going to be Peyton Manning, but he's not going to put those top 5 numbers that Peyton Manning used to do, whether he throws like 40 touchdown passes or 50 touchdown passes. That's not the Peyton Manning you're going to see this year. I think he's good for close to 30. He's going to keep his interceptions down, but he is throwing some wobbly ducks. I don't know if you've seen it, but his arm strength is gone. And he lost Go ahead.
He's going to throw. He's going to be trying to go for 300 yards a game, though, still, even if it is a running team.
I don't know. He looks different. Looks like I don't know if he can do it. To be honest with you, he almost looks like he's lost, like he's lost strength, and he seems like when he throws the ball, it's just like this wobbly.
But we've been saying the same thing. Honestly, everybody's been saying the same thing for like 6 years now, and he still comes out and just does awesome.
No, I only saw it last year, at the end of last year, where he was just throwing these weird, ugly duckling passes, and I was like, what is going on with this dude's arm? And he just faded. Yeah, he just faded off during the end of the year last year. Before that, I never thought anything about him. If he threw a wobbly pass, it was just because that's the way he was every now and then. He could throw a wobbly one. But now it just seems like all his passes just float. It's weird the way it comes out of his hand. It's not the same. It's not the same Peyton Manning. So that's why I have him down. Besides the guys that I have, you'll see the guys that I have up. There's some surprises up there. So we'll see.
But even in your list, you have Stafford 15. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody, I think people are sleeping on Stafford, honestly.
But Stafford is a guy that can move up. He's got some weapons at wide receiver, and he's got Amir Abdullah. Basically, the second coming of Barry Sanders.
Apparently. All right, 10 through 6. Eli Manning, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Tony Romo. So a lot of people are probably going to be wondering why Russell Wilson have it 7. Now, I just don't trust him. I've seen people draft him first, second, third. They have him as a top 4 quarterback fantasy-wise. I don't see that. I mean, it reminded me of whenever everybody jumped on the Colin Kaepernick, the sophomore year bandwagon, where they just thought he was going to throw for 5,000 yards and rush for 2,000 and have 60 touchdowns, it seems. I'm assuming because of Jimmy Graham, everybody thinks that now there's no excuses where he's going to be throwing touchdown passes. But this is an offense that's a run heavy. He'll get some running yards too, don't get me wrong, rushing yards. But they're going to be relying mostly on Marshawn Lynch, and then he's going to be dinking dunking to Jimmy Graham. That's why they got him, because that's him. He's not somebody that's going to throw over the top. He's not a Andrew Luck. He's not going to be throwing 300 yards a game. I know he can do it. Don't get me wrong. I just don't see it, especially when you got a defense like that where you don't need to do it. It's almost like if they get 14-point lead, they'll play very safe by just using their run game. It's not like they're going to be trying to get, like Peyton Manning would do back in the day, where he would just drive up the score. So I don't see that. I don't get why he's ranked so high. I'm even giving him a pass at 7. I really want to rank him 15 in my opinion.
Wow, 15? That's low. That's way 7. Too high. That's way too high. But I like Russell Wilson, but he's another one. No offensive line. No offensive line. He's going to be getting rushed like crazy. They have no protection for that guy. So he would have been higher for me if he didn't have that offensive line problem. And you'll hear mine. My 10 through 6, Matt Ryan, Drew Brees at 9. Shocker again. I said he's going to be he's on my bust list, but that's a bust for him is number 9 because he's not. I don't think he's going to be that great this year. 8, Phillip Rivers. 7, Sam Bradford. That's my shocker right there. And number 6, I have Russell Wilson. So I'll talk about Rivers. Rivers has been one of those consistent quarterbacks every year, consistently good. And I think it just gets even better this year with the addition of Melvin Gordon. He still has Brandon Oliver at running back, Danny Woodhead. There's 2 guys that can catch out of the backfield right there. And then you have, of course, Antonio Gates, Ladarius Green at tight end, and he has weapons on the outside with Keenan Allen, and he's got Stevie Johnson. And Stevie Johnson is a very underrated receiver. He sucked in San Francisco because they don't pass the ball, and Colin Kaepernick wasn't used to the way he moved. But Phillip Rivers is a different quarterback, and Stevie Johnson, I think, you're going to see a resurrection under him. And Keenan Allen, that's going to only free it up for Keenan Allen. So I see Phillip Rivers with a lot more weapons and a lot more, toys to play with basically in the red zone. So I like Phillip Rivers, and he plays hurt. The guy will play hurt still. Yeah, he's very durable.
He's been a solid quarterback. He's somebody that usually if you look at the people that win the leagues, they're the ones that draft. They're still the old school mentality. They pick the running backs first, the wide receivers, and all that, and they'll leave the quarterback last. Which over the years, a lot of people have been picking quarterback, first round now, second round at the latest. The people that do pick late usually get a guy like him, Phillip Rivers, so they have a stacked team everywhere else, and now all of a sudden they have Phillip Rivers, and they just go
how he keeps getting picked so late is like every year somebody thinks he's gonna suck.
Oh yeah,
and every year he's good. He's very consistent.
Yep.
So who's your 5 through 1?
Ben Roethlisberger, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck I have as 1. I just think. Reggie Wayne was bad last year. I know he was hurt and, he lost a step, etc. But with Andre Johnson there and T.Y. Hilton's still there. Moncrief, you talked about him as a sleeper. They have, what's his name, the other receiver that's the rookie, whatever he is, that's supposed to be real good.
Yeah.
They have Frank Gore, which is obviously head and shoulders above, what's his name, that got cut by the Raiders.
Trent Richardson, yeah.
Trent Richardson, the offense as a whole with Andrew Luck now another year smarter, another year where he's going to lower those interceptions down. He had 16. That was the one thing he needed to work on. And all of his game was the interceptions, some of the decisions. And this is somebody that obviously can fix that. So if you have somebody that can get, the Aaron Rodgers type of level where he's only throwing 5, 6, 7 interceptions only, imagine how many more yards he's going to get and how many more touchdowns that's going to be as a result. He threw 40 last year. This is somebody that I think could throw 45 or more and probably get 5,000 yards this year. So Luck, by far, the number 1, quarterback this year.
Yeah, I have him. You'll hear mine too. My number 5 through 1 is Tony Romo, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, and number 1, Andrew Luck. And I'll talk about Big Ben. He has got nothing but weapons. He might struggle coming out the gate because Martavis Bryant is going to miss 4 games. Le'Veon Bell is going to miss a couple games. But D'Angelo Williams is a good backup to have for a couple games. So I'm not really worried about the Pittsburgh Steelers running game and their screen game because that's what they love to run as screens with Le'Veon Bell. And D'Angelo Williams is definitely still a playmaker when it comes to that aspect. But Ben Roethlisberger just has so many weapons. Even Marcus Wheaton. And, he's got so many fast guys. And another thing, Martavis Bryant's going to leave, but insert the rookie Sammy Coates. He's another tall speed guy. He's, you know what I mean? He can stretch the field along with Antonio Brown. It's insane how many weapons. And they still have Heath Miller, old reliable. So that offense is not going to slow down. And Ben Roethlisberger, you've seen his numbers go up dramatically like year after year. And now I'm putting him in that top 3 category because there's too many weapons on offense. That offensive line is much improved, and I really like his chances to just put up some serious numbers this year.
Man, but I'm telling you, I had him last year in one of my leagues, and trust me, he did awesome, especially since I had Antonio Brown also. He just seems so inconsistent. It seems like one game he'll throw 450 yards, and the next game he'll throw 100. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, it's all depending. It's all depending on who you're playing and stuff like that too. Yeah.
He's always been the most frustrating quarterback to own in fantasy history. I'm telling you, he's up there. If you look at his numbers overall, he's always up there. He's kind of like Phillip Rivers, but the difference is Phillip Rivers will get you the 250 yards, 2 touchdowns average, while Ben Roethlisberger would do the 254 touchdowns one game and then throw 100 and no touchdowns the next. I mean, it's like, wow, he kicked ass one day and then the next, he disappears, and it's frustrating. But this year, you're right though. With Antonio Brown and all the offensive weapons, I think
so many weapons. It's ridiculous how many weapons he has.
Now I'm more shocked that Tony Romo's so high because you're usually not high on Tony Romo.
I'm not, but I like him this year, especially now that they're going to run a little bit. They're going to run a lot, but I think they're going to run a little bit less than they did last year, and they're gonna use him a lot more. And he's not a bad quarterback. He's just he just can't win those big games. But you don't need to win the big game when you're playing fantasy football. you just need to win up until week 16.
Yeah.
When it comes to the playoffs, you have to worry about that for fantasy football because he's not. That's fantasy playoffs are already done. So that'll wrap up the quarterbacks, the top 30 quarterbacks. The next one we're going to do are the top 30 running backs. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at SiggyV and at JT_Magnum816. Go to our website. It's MagnumSportsNetwork.com. It's up and running. At the bottom there, you'll see the ticker. It's going to be like that for the rankings, but when the season starts, we're going to do our stardom sit 'em. It's going to be every Tuesday. I haven't told Siggy yet. This is the first time I'm telling Siggy. Every Tuesday will be our stardom sit 'em, which will be early. I know it's going to be early before the Thursday game, and it's going to be obviously before the Saturday and Sunday games, but I'm releasing it early so that way you get an early, early basically, look at everything on starts and sits. If things change, injuries happen, lineup changes, go to our website and check out the last up-to-the-minute changes and things like that. So that way you have somewhere to go to check out our rankings when they change. That way, this is the new thing I'm doing this year because last year, we would do a show. People would look and say, hey, they're not playing. And they'd be like, I know. Just check out, check out the about section or check out the info tab and everything like that. Now you can just go to our website and check out our rankings there, and that way you can see the changes that we do or things like that. And we're also going to do a live show. I don't know which day the live show is going to be yet. I'll let you know when that happens. But stay tuned for the next one. It's the running back rankings, and for Fantasy Football Fiends, JT Magnum Siggy Guns. We out. Peace.